Hi everybody, I'm here today with Jack Mulford, who is a designer for Summit Studios, and we're just going to be talking about that and some of his past experiences. So, how you doing today, Jack?
Hey, yeah, I'm great. Thanks for having me on.
That's good. So, I'm just going to get right into it. You are graduating with a bachelor's degree in game development with an emphasis or a concentration on design in June. What are you looking to do moving forward with that? Are you going to go back to school, or are you going to spend some time, getting some more
Yeah.
experience?
Um, it's something that I'm still working on right now. The state of the industry right now, there's so much just crap going on right now. So I kind of have like three options right now. It's either go back and do a master's and do another year, which I'm probably leaning towards doing, or just working part time and just doing studio on the side and see if that takes off. Or what we're
Gotcha.
doing right now is we're trying to get into a scheme called Transfuser, which is a part of the UK Games Fund, where we can get funding. I'm pretty sure it's through the government or something like that. You get funding to start up your studio. I think it's a couple £1,000. It's not much, but it's something. So, but I'm definitely leaning towards doing another year, just to delay myself and see just how things goes with, especially with all the layoffs right now. It's for students and juniors. It's really hard to get a job. So that's probably what I'm leaning towards right now. But I'll see how the next few months go. So I'm not really rushing myself right now.
Gotcha. Grads and Games listed you as a designer to watch in 2024 in the game industry. How did that make you feel? What was that like?
Yeah. So just for context, Grads and Games is a scheme for students who are either in their last year of university. So there's two different categories. There's trying to remember now. There's Rising Star, which are for those in first and second year. So those that aren't graduating. And then there's Search for a Star, which is the one I did for those that are graduating. So I didn't win. I don't think I got into the finals, but I was a bit silly and I decided to go, oh yeah, let's do two different projects at the same time and realize, oh yeah, that's a very good way to get burnt out. But even doing it, I somehow still came out with being a designer one to watch, which is I think top of my head, it's like top 10% of graduates that applied or something like that. So I was very happy with that outcome because it was only a couple of days of work, so I didn't really think much of it as, oh, just apply, and then you just get an email saying, oh, okay, this is quite interesting. So it's something that's really cool. Just something just to add on and talk about is just nice to see I am being acknowledged for the work I've done. So especially if I was to do a master's, I definitely do grads and games again. Is a really great opportunity for students and graduates as well to try and break into the industry.
Now, is it more like a competition, or are you submitting work and they kind of judge or rate you based on the work that you put?
Um, it's sort of a competition, but it's not branded as a competition. I'd say it's more for you get a brief. So designers, programmers, artists, animators, VFX artists. I think there's probably another category I'm missing. 3D art as well. You get a brief and you're told, hey, I think it's like spend 30 hours on this. Or you can spend more than it if you want. And here's the brief. Here's what you expect to do. Just submit it, and everyone involved gets feedback. And I think it's the most feedback I've ever received from anyone before. It was quite a long document going into details. This is what's really good. This is what you can work on. So it's a really great place to just even if it's just like, oh, I'll spend a day or two in this project. It's just a great way to figure out what other people's opinions are. 'Cause as a developer, you're always quite biased on your own work. So, it's a great way to just get some good crucial industry feedback. And then if you get into the finals, you even get a mock interview with, can't remember who it was this year, but I definitely know there was some big names up there doing the mock interviews this year. So it's a great way to get into the industry.
All right. So you worked on multiple projects during your time in school, such as I've got them listed here, and forgive me if I pronounce this first one wrong. Is it terate, terate,
Terry.
terate, consciousness, and no time to clown? How have working on these projects helped you develop your skills and resume as a student trying to break into the industry?
Yeah. So I'll go in order of their release. So Terre was, I believe it was my second year group project. So for my university, Falmouth University, what we do is a lot of universities don't focus on the idea of putting everyone together in groups and working in multidisciplinary groups. A lot of these universities just focus on, if you're a programmer, just a program us a game, and then that's it. There's no group work. So what my uni does instead is we'll have a solo project we work on, and then we have a big group project to work on. So Terra's my second year game. I definitely learned a lot in that project. Like, definitely in terms of team working skills, it's like there was a lot of scoping issues with this game, I'd say. I think especially when you're second and first year, you have go, I want to make this really big game. I want to. Everyone has this idea of it's going to be massive. It's going to look great. Likelihood it's not going to look great, but that's how learning games is, and it came out okay. But it definitely taught me a lot of, okay, if there's you got to really scope down as a developer. Like, even if you're 5 months away from deadline, it's 5 minutes in terms of developing a game. So I definitely learned a lot of, okay, especially being the only designer on the team, there's a lot of, okay, we originally had the plan to do X amount of levels and this feature, but I'm the only designer and we have so many features. And then this deadline for this project, especially, I had to look at, like, there's a lot of scoping down, and it's annoying to scope down, but I think it definitely taught me how to take it on the chin. Like, I don't really get bothered by scoping down, whereas I did before. I was like, I really wanted this in, but I can't now. For consciousness, this is probably one of my proudest games, like most high quality games I have made. So it's made in Unreal Engine 5, and it's part of my brief to make a portfolio piece. And it took me I think about 3 months to make. And I don't, it sounds really weird. I don't like horror games. I'm a bit of a wuss, but what do? I make a horror game. So it made playtesting it quite hard because I get quite scared easily. But it's possibly one of my favorite games I have ever made. And the idea is simple. It's you just walk around, collect some items, and try and avoid the enemy AI. That's it. But it's when you go deep into the mechanics of it, every time you play, it's different. There's a bit of randomization with the placement of the objects you have to pick up. That was especially, like, being one of my first proper Unreal Engine projects. It was incredibly fun to make, and compared to working in Unity, it was a lot more easier for me to actually understand of, this is actually how you code in Unreal, whereas Unity is quite more throw you into the deep end. Good luck? Question mark. And with no time to clown, this was actually a submission to the Global Game Jam for this year. I think the theming was "Make Me Laugh" off the top of my head. So I think there was only 4 of us making this game, and aside from probably organizing everything, we had probably the best part of maybe 12 hours to put it together. But with a majority of games going for Game Jam, don't even make it through the final submission phase. Most of them just go, okay, here's like maybe a broken main menu and you can move your character, and that's about it. But for the first Game Jam I ever did, I was actually quite impressed and surprised that we managed to make a more or less solidly built core game loop with maybe the odd bug here and there. But for the amount, for like 10 hours of work, I'm very impressed that we managed to make a game for the submission for the Global Game Jam.
Sure. So you're currently at Summit Studios as a designer and developer. Now, you're the lead level designer, or am I?
I'm
So
I'm many things on this project.
uh, and you guys are currently working on your game Cosmic Cowboy. What's the experience of that been like so far?
it's it's been great. I think it's probably one of the best projects out of the 5 years I've been developing games that I've ever worked on. I mean, the team have been, if not, but simply amazing, like absolute standout. Props to them for just being, there's only 4 of us and we've created such a amazing piece already, and we've still got another 4 or 5 months away from the actual release of the game. So for this project, I'm off the top of my head, I'm like the lead level designer, I'm the designer, QA lead, social media stuff, animations, UI art. I'm with the size of the team, we have to definitely pick up a lot of different skills that we normally wouldn't do. Me as a designer, I would never pick up UI art, and I never thought I would have to. But actually, I thought, why not? I'll give UI art a go. And surprisingly enough, I quite enjoyed it. And we've never had to touch a UI since, because somehow I made the UI good enough that people actually understood what it was. And I was like, okay, maybe I can actually influence my design skills into the whole UI aspect of things. So it's been great. We've surpassed nearly all of our deadlines. We have never experienced any crunch. We've been on top of it every single day. We've trying to think, we've done so much. We've held over 100 QA sessions. We've professionally shown it off at the biggest UK's event for games, Insomnia. We've also been given industry feedback from some developers from the Bohemia who were, off the top of my head, I think they did Castle Crashers. So we definitely got some good feedback from them. Um, it's been great. I mean, it's all I can say is just how proud of everyone I am. It's just been just a really fun experience to go, you know, what game do we want to make? And then everyone just pulled in their different ideas. And like originally, this game was supposed to be similar to supposed to be like a semi-open world game, and I realized, well, that's way too big. And then it sort of over time evolved into this turn-based strategy game where at no point was it supposed to be a turn-based strategy game. It was supposed to be it was like a Western game with influences of a turn-based, but it was more RPG based. And then I think one day I just decided I was just building the first level and I went, oh, hey guys, I kind of accidentally made the first level into a neon space Western. So are we okay with this? And then just after that, because I accidentally built the first level into the wrong theme, we sort of built off on that. And I think that definitely paid off because a lot of people have said, you know, space where you got westerns as one thing, and then you got like space westerns, but people have said to us they've never actually seen an actual cowboy in a space western before. So that's kind of like one of our USPs. But it's been absolutely great working on this game.
You actually touched on a lot of points that I have later on, so we'll circle back to a lot of things that you said. But um, something I just thought of while you're talking, you said that you had to do UI design,
Yeah.
and that's something that you don't typically do. So how has it been kind of juggling things that you wouldn't typically do with things that you are more, I guess, geared for? Has that helped you at all in terms
Mm.
of actual level design? What, how's, I guess, what's that experience been like?
It's been great. I mean, like I said, I've never touched UI design before, but what I did for like my research, I just loaded up XCOM 2 and I had a look at their UI and I go, what works? What what can I actually look and tell me, okay, that does this, that does that. And more or less I picked the aspects from like XCOM and the original Fallout. I was trying to look at all of these different UI aspects and go, okay, what works? Like I can obviously see what this button does. So then I incorporated like my research into this and goes, and I made some like rough drafts and I was like, and then I put them in the game. It's like, okay, what does everyone think of this? And then slowly over time I iterated on that. And then I've got to the point where it's now obvious what the UI does, which is I'm actually quite impressed of because I've no point in my life have I ever designed UI other than maybe chucking in some images off Google and then saying that yeah, that's the UI done in my old projects. But being doing something different, it's quite rewarding. And then I can actually say, I would definitely give it a go again. There's loads of other aspects. I don't normally do animation in a development project, but it was actually quite nice to just go back and to relearn the animation. So I've done the animation for, it's nothing major, but opening doors, closing doors, the environment animations with got spaceships going on. I don't normally do that in a game, but I just sat there thinking, these levels look quite empty. What can just make them just that little bit more lived in and breathing? So then I went in and just did some really basic animations of just some things moving about, and then immediately people go say, yes, this world looks like it's being lived in. This looks so much better now that you can actually see, there's trains moving around, there's ships moving around, there's so much more happening. You can just move your camera over to someone, there's actually something happening rather than everything static. There's nothing going on other than just a player moving. So it's, I would definitely consider just learning more things. I've been trying to look at getting into 3D modeling at some point. That's, after seeing the process of working alongside the artist and seeing him how he makes models, I was like, this is definitely something I want to look at. So I don't want to just call myself a designer at this point or a level designer. I think one of the key skills of being a designer is having skills in everywhere. You've got a bit of programming, you've got a bit of audio, you've got a bit of everything. So if there's one member of the team that's maybe ill or has something else to work on, you can go, okay, I can pick this up and I'll try. And then you can give it back to them. It's just being a designer is also just about being supportive for the rest of the team and having different skills.
Awesome. That's real. That sounds really good, having the opportunity to learn so much.
Yeah,
It sounds, I guess, I don't know if this is a weird word to use, but enriching, if that makes
yeah,
sense.
it was, yeah,
Um, you mentioned before, and I had a question about this, that your team is small. It's around four to
very
five
small,
people.
yeah, four,
And you mentioned that because of that, you've had to handle things such as the UI that we just talked about that you wouldn't typically do yourself. How has it been for the rest of the team, working on the game and just kind of not crunching, but having to
yeah.
juggle things?
I think everyone else feels the exact same about me. We've at no point have we felt stressed. I was speaking to the other designer of our team, Lou, and I was just telling to him, I was just talking to him, I was like, look, I'm like overthinking the game right now. I'm like, is this game fun? I was like asking people, I was like, is this game fun? Like everyone's like faffing about doing all these things, and he just looks at me, he goes, you're fine. You're just worried now because you have nothing to do. I have pretty much finished what I have to do, and because we've got this massive Trello board of all of our tasks, and every single day we're like, this is done, this is done. In the Discord, we're like, okay, who's done what since we've last spoken? And it's like, this is done, this is done, this is done, perfect. And the great thing about being so small is we're flexible. We're not having to rely on like, oh, has this person done this programming piece, which allows me to do this, which allows this person to do that? Because we're so small, we're not tied to what people do. I can make an entire level independent of the programmer. I can I can make set pieces entirely independent from the art. I can make things independent from each other, which is great because we don't have to rely on other groups or other people to do something because the norm of a student is not really being active, and most students are not so engaging with projects. So it's great to just go, hey, I've done this, but I don't need to worry about what you're doing because it has no impact on what I'm doing. And especially for the other guys, they've also been picking up skills that they don't normally do. I know that the other designer, he's been in charge of the voice actors. He doesn't normally, I don't think he's ever had to do anything to do with voice actors or directing the voice actors before, but I know he's really enjoying that. Um, I also know our artist, he's absolutely amazing. He's done so much. He's done 3D modeling, character modeling, concept art, shaders. He's made an entire custom shader for the game, which has just made the game go from like, I don't know, probably a 5 in looks to maybe probably a solid 9. So I think everyone's extremely happy with how it's gone. And now that we're nearing like the deadline for the uni, we're just sitting here like we don't really have much left to do because we've just been so on top of everything. And now we're starting to feel a bit guilty. We're like, what do we do now? So now we're just pure polishing, getting ready for that submission. But then we're also planning to do a Steam release later on. But we're just going to see how things go now. But yeah, everyone's been really enjoying it, which is great.
Gotcha. You mentioned this earlier, and I want to bring it up again. So you guys at Summit Studios got to take Cosmic Cowboy to the Insomnia Festival. I think it was Insomnia Festival 72, and
Yeah.
exhibit the game. And what was that like? And also, can you speak a bit about Insomnia Festival? You said UK's largest festival, but you know, I
Yeah.
I'm just now getting into space, and I looked into it a little bit, but I'd like to hear about it from you. So what was all that kind of like?
Yeah, honestly, I think we can all four of us agree that it was the best fun we've had out of the 3 years being at uni. Um, so essentially, Insomnia is the UK's largest gaming festival. So it's not just about showcasing games; it's about just bringing the love of games around everyone. So there's an absolutely massive LAN party. I think there must be at least 200, 300 people doing that LAN party. Then there's the streamers and YouTubers who go there. So I know I'm trying to think off the top of my head. There was Pyrocynical, who's quite a big UK streamer
Yeah,
slash
no pirates.
YouTuber. Yeah, he was there. I think one of our team members actually met him. He did like a meet and greet when I met him. There was Up It's Not Jump. I don't know if you know who that is. He's sort of a smaller British
Could you,
YouTuber.
you, what was his name?
Up It's Not Jump.
No, unfortunately
No,
not. I
no. So
can,
there's a lot of UK content creators that go out. There's obviously all the stalls you can buy from, and there's all the cosplay stuff. I know the cosplay is one of the biggest aspects of Insomnia. I think it's just also just a sense of community. So it was really good. And then for what we did for the Indieverse showcase was we pretty much given the standards like, hey, here's a computer, just show off your game. And we were very fortunate enough to be put next to the Behemoth. So they did the Alien Hominid series and Castle Crashers, and every now and then we just go over and talk to the devs and we're like, hey, you got any advice for us in the devs? And they come over and they play a game. They go, this is what you need to work on. You can fix this. This is perfect. This is great. If for an indie dev, this is how you publish. These some rewards things you can apply to. So they're really helpful, and it's just nice seeing other people just that wasn't us or our friends actually sitting down and playing our game because we go, you know, here's a game, please break it. We need to find ways to break it. So I think we ended up writing at least probably 4 or 5 pages of bugs that we never found before. And apparently children are very good at breaking games, which is very useful. But yeah, it was a really nice experience and it was fun. And we had a lot of great feedback. No one said this game's bad. So that's great. So we've got a lot of useful feedback of what we can change, how we can make the user experience more fun and engaging. And we also been invited to go back to Insomnia later this year. I'm not too sure if we are going to do it. It just depends on where we are after graduation and how whereabouts this project is. So, but we've had the opportunity to go back again if we want to. So I definitely be down to it. It's just, whether or not the game really needs it. But it was honestly, it was so much fun. It was exhausting talking to. I think I must have spoke to at least 400 people. So, and every 5 seconds I was going, do you know XCOM? Do you know Borderlands? Do you know these games? Because I'm trying to think of how do I hook people in? Well, people like XCOM, people like Borderlands. I must have said that 400 times. Nice. By the end of it, I was just getting like, I need another way to sell this game. So, but yeah, it was a really amazing experience.
That sounds awesome. I mean, just the fact that you were able to get that advice from the other, because you were put right there, so you got to
Mm,
utilize that, most of the time I'm sure you'd have to reach out to somebody like that to get advice from them. So, how did being there, aside from showing it off to people, just your presence there, how did it help garner attention for the game? I guess the longevity for the game, going
yeah.
forward.
I'd say personally for us, we have definitely seen a lot more traction on our social media side of things. So I've been like more or less left to my own devices to run our social media channels. I know on our LinkedIn page, I think the day we got there, we had probably 72 followers, maybe 75 at best. By the time we left, and then the week after, we've gained about 630 new followers. So, there's definitely that traction that people are, okay, this is interesting. Oh, because LinkedIn's really our only source of social media. I know we have our Instagram, but it's a lot harder for an indie developer to grow on that platform. Whereas LinkedIn, I personally found is a lot easier to grow and it's a lot easier to get playtesters of it. And there's another thing that I found is that on the itch page as well itself, there's I think within the first 4 or 5 days after the event happened, there was definitely a spike in people seeing the game, people downloading the game. So there's definitely people going back and go, oh yeah, there was this game I played, let's try it out. Um, so there's definitely that little niche that we're trying to open up because doing my research as well, there's very little to do with turn-based indie games, and the most recent one I can find was a few years back. I couldn't find any ones that are more recently. So I'm hoping that we're trying to explore this niche where, where it's kind of a risk doing a turn-based game because not everyone's going to like a turn-based game. Whereas a first-person shooter, anyone can pick it up, but turn-based games are a lot harder to develop, and that means the type of player we're catering towards has a different skill level because not everyone's going to enjoy it because the typical XCOM experience is quite brutal, but we're hoping that with the feedback we gain from Insomnia, that we can kind of develop the game around the audience we want. We even had, off the top of my head, we had, I think it was like 2 magazines managed to play it. We had, I think it was Debug, who specialized in showing off indie games, and I think it was the Patch magazine, who were also founded by I think it was former Falmouth University students, which was really great to see. Um, We also had a YouTube channel, a triple jump player game, and a Twitch streamer who I actually been meaning to catch up on about if they played the game. But it's great to see that, as soon as people look at the game and go and they see the art style, they go, "Oh my God, I want to play this." That was some people's instant reaction. It's like, "This looks great." And when I was talking to them, they go, "Oh, how many of you on the team?" It's like, "This is us, four of us. All four of us are here." And they go, "Oh, wow, how long have you been developing it?" And at that time, it was like 4 or 5 months. And they go, they look at you like, "Really, 5 months?" They don't, at first, they didn't believe me. We go, "Yeah, 5 months, just the four of us." And they go, and some people say, "This game looks as if it's been developed by 20 people over a year," which is great to see that people can actually see the quality of the work in what we've presented to them.
I'm sure that's, very encouraging. Uh,
Yeah, it is.
that'd be awesome just watching somebody enjoy something that you create. At least I can only imagine that that's what it feels like.
Yeah, it
Um,
was.
so on the itch page for the site, and you spoke about this for one of the first couple questions I asked. It's mentioned that the game is inspired by other titles like XCOM and Fallout. Um, my question originally was, what was it about these games that inspired Cosmic Cowboy? But when you had described it earlier, it made it sound like it kind of ended up being like that almost on accident. So,
Yeah.
um, so my question now is, did you just sort of embrace that and say, yeah, we can use these games as kind of like a foundation or inspiration, um, rather than had you, gone into this game knowing I
Mm.
want it to be like Fallout or I want it to be like XCOM.
I'd say the original idea was taking aspects of XCOM. XCOM was always the first source of inspiration. It was always going to be this game. That was always the idea. But I'd say Borderlands, I think, came the most late out of all of them. I think once we got the art and we started to write a story similar to the comedy of Borderlands. So it's very upbeat, doesn't take itself too seriously. So I say Borderlands definitely came in the latest, maybe 3 months into development. Fallout was, I'd say, mid development. We always wanted to have some sort of RPG type mechanic towards it, although we didn't really know how that was going to fit into the game itself. And then I think after several meetings, we go, "Okay, this is we're gonna try and make our own version of the special system, pretty much." And with that now implemented in the game, it's not just, "Okay, I'm going to play the first three levels and that's it." Every playthrough is the same. Now every single playthrough is going to be unique and different for everyone else. So someone might have X amount of stats in this, but not in this, and someone might pick this class, but someone else might. There's countless possibilities of what you can have in the game now. So I think blending all three of those games together has actually made the game itself better because we can actually go, we can appeal to all three fans now. There's been people saying, "Hey, this looks like Borderlands." We go, "Well, that's exactly what we were going for." Um, or the people who are like, "Oh, this reminds me of XCOM." We go, "Yep, that's exactly." People say this reminds me of X game. We go, That's exactly what we were going for." And it's great to see that people can actually realize where the inspiration lies from. As in, some people might go, "Oh, this is just some random game with no inspiration." But I'm glad that we have those sorts of inspiration. We can go, especially when pitching it, we can go, "Here's the art from Borderlands compared to us," and people go, "Yeah, I can see it." And for XCOM especially is the turn-based aspect of it, but with trying to turn it on its head, where instead of having the squad gameplay, is you just control the one character, but you can make that character incredibly powerful. So we're trying to take all three aspects from different games and perhaps other games as well, and just trying to make them unique and different, but not too similar from the same game. So it's not like you're just buying another version of XCOM or another version of Borderlands. It's its own game, but you can see where the influences come from.
Gotcha. So it's like you want to be independent of those other games, but you also
Yeah.
kind of want to pay homage to them in a little way. Um, Now I haven't had a chance to pick up the game yet, just because it's been such a busy week, but I plan to play it over the weekend. Um, and from the trailers and images that I've seen, it's kind of got like like I don't want to say cyberpunk, but like a kind of like cyber
Yeah,
neon
we
style.
we call it cyber neon. That's what we've gone for.
Oh,
We
okay.
At first it was cyberpunk, but then we just decided cyber neon. Neon sounds way much better to what we actually want.
Yeah. So you mentioned Borderlands. My question was what inspired the team to kind of approach the visuals of the game in the way that you approached it?
Um, oh, this is a good question. I actually remember having a conversation, I think months ago, about this was so right now we have this shader in which has made the colors and all the neons really pop out. But before it was just completely bland. Everything was just washed out and gray. And we just decided, what can make this game just go from okay, yeah, it looks okay, but like this, it's not going to catch my eye. It's just going to look boring and unforgettable to, oh my God, this game looks so good. I want to play it right now, which a lot of people have said. So we sat down, we had a meeting about the art, and we all decided, why don't we try and make a shader? So I think that took at least the best part of 5, 6 weeks, possibly. There was a lot of fine tuning and tweaking, but once that shader was in, we went, oh wow, this game really looks just amazing now. So and then slowly over time we went as we were developing the shader, we go, wow, this really is starting to look like a Borderlands. If Borderlands was like a turn-based game, it's not exactly cell shaded, but looking at the game, you can walk past it and you just look at it and go, okay, wow, that looks really cool. There's a lot of people that was walking by at Insomnia and just even when we are just showing off the game to go, I wouldn't have noticed this game if it wasn't for the art style. It's great having a game that works well and has great mechanics and great gameplay. But if you don't have an art style that's going to catch people's eyes or people's attention, no one's going to play that game. So that's definitely one of the biggest aspects we're trying to draw up is if the game's not visually pleasing, no one's going to play it. So in order to have a good game in the first place, it has to be eye catching because what's the point? Because no one's going to pick it up and no one's going to play it and it's going to be forgettable. But now I've got people messaging me, hey, you're the guy doing that Cosmic Cowboy game. I love the art style. It's really unique. And, I'd love to see more of it. That's definitely one of the things I always get back from it is I want to see more of this art style and where it can go because there's a lot of flexibility we can do with the art style. So, that's Borderlands. It's great to be compared to a massive AAA game where it's literally just one artist just making all of this.
That's awesome. The game is still being built, and you actually just today, which is April 19th, for anybody watching, um, this morning well, this morning for me, the afternoon for you,
Yeah.
uh, you just put out a Kickstarter for the
Mm,
game. My question was, what were your plans for the game moving forward? But I think that with the Kickstarter, you obviously have a
yeah.
mission to release it. So, what are your hopes for the Kickstarter? What are your hopes for the game moving forward?
So we're not like tied to the Kickstarter. It's not like if the Kickstarter doesn't do too well, the game's gonna fail. No, that's not what the Kickstarter is for. The Kickstarter is for can we expand on what we already have? So it's not gonna be like Kickstarter's failed, game's not getting released. We're releasing the game whether or not the Kickstarter does great or not. It's just a nice optional extra for people to support us if they want us to. So our plan is to release on Steam. I think off the top of my head, it's Friday the 13th of September. Fingers crossed that does stay the same date, but obviously it can change. But I think what we're going for is maybe if we want to at least quadruple the game size in terms of levels. So hopefully have 10, which at least I want to say 3 hours of gameplay at minimum, maybe 2.5. I'm not too sure where we're at right now, but having a Steam release is just absolutely what we want to do right now because we have the free levels, we have the core fundamentals of the game, we have this works, this works, this works, and what we've realized now we can build a level maybe 2, maybe 2, 3 days if we really try. Whereas before the first level took about 5 months to make, but that's because we're building everything ground up. But now that we have the ability, everything's in, it's going to be so much easier to just make the game bigger and better. So the Steam release, is going to be a really big part of this game. I've none of the guys before on the team has ever released a Steam game before. So it will also for us it will be just a can we make this game commercially viable? Is it going to be a commercial success? Either way, it's not going to matter for us because we're just doing it for the love of it. So if it's a massive flop, fair enough. That's just how it is for indie games. But if it's even sells 100 copies, that still means a lot to us. You go, wow, okay, there's 100 people that never played it before. So the Kickstarter itself is, do people want to see more of this game? Do people want to have a say in the development of this game? Do people, want to see more levels or more characters?
So at this point, we in my interviews, I like to transition to what I consider to be more fun questions, and they're not going to be about Summit Studios or Cosmic Cowboy. Um, so before we get into them, I have a question I'd like to ask everybody. What's your favorite game of all time?
Halo
I
2.
know you told
Easy.
me, yeah.
Yeah, I already told you, but yeah, easy, hands down, Halo 2.
I know you told me that in the LinkedIn, but I ask everybody that anyways. Um, Halo 2 happens to be my favorite Halo. So that's cool. What
I
what is it
think
about?
I think up on one of these shelves, I think up here, I still have. I think if I can get it, I still have an original copy
Yeah.
of the collector's edition. I also have the Halo 3 collector's edition. So I think you can say I'm a bit of a Halo fan.
What is it about Halo 2 specifically that makes it your favorite?
Oof. I think that's just it's gonna sound really just vague, but it's everything. It's the story, the music, the gameplay, um, the multiplayer, just everything, just how it all came together just to be this one great big, it wasn't pay £70 and then oh we might give you some DLC and then it's like oh there's a season pass and we're it's not none of that modern game rubbish. It's like here's the game, here's the story, here's the multiplayer, and then within those campaign levels, they're just I'm gonna sound a bit silly, but they're iconic. All of the levels are iconic. You can go, yep, it's that level and it's from Halo 2. And I think if you go back maybe like 20 years ago, I think it's 20 years old now. The massive hype around that game and how successful it was, because at the end of the day, it was just improving what the first game made better, which I think most games don't do now these days. The first Halo game, what can be improved on that? Well, we can improve X, Y, and Z. Then they improved X, Y, and Z, and then they made Halo 3. They looked at Halo 2 and said, how can we improve X, Y, and Z? They're just constantly improving. Well, I don't think games these days really look at what makes the previous game successful.
No, Halo 2 is definitely my favorite Halo. It's the like first game I played as a kid, where I was like, this is awesome. I'm gonna go into my next thing now. So, have you ever heard of a keep five, cut five?
Oh, I'm gonna say no.
No. So basically, um, I've got a list here of 10 things based on a prompt, and you're gonna have to keep five and cut five.
Okay.
Um, I'm gonna send it into the chat so you have it. Uh, since you like Halo, I had already made two of these for my last interviewee who also happened to really like Halo. Um, so I'm just gonna reuse one, and so here it is. I'm gonna put it in the chat here for you. Oh, hold on, it's not. I'm just gonna type it. So you're gonna keep five and cut five Halo
Cool.
weapons.
Something tells me I'm gonna have the same answers as him.
Maybe, and that should be all of them.
Right. Started energy sword. You got to keep it. It's just that's you. There's two iconic. You got to keep the energy sword in. Um, Focus rifle. Get rid of that. No, I hated that. I hated it in Reach.
Okay.
Um, Rocket launcher. You got to keep that. Um, Grenade launcher, I'll say that's got to go. Magnum CE, yeah, obviously that's going to stay in. I think aside from the energy sword, that's probably one of the most iconic weapons from Halo. Um, oh, this is hard. Battle rifle, that's got to stay in. I think brute shot and shotgun can both go, and it's between. Oh, I don't know. I think the Spartan laser. I think I'll keep that in and just get rid of the gravity hammer. I think that. Yeah, I'm happy with that. I think that will work.
Think you had the same exact list as him until you kept the Spartan laser, because I think he kept the shotgun, but you cut the
All right.
shotgun. But still, pretty close. Um, Now I'm gonna do a blind ranking with you. Do you know what a
Mm-hmm.
blind ranking is?
Nope.
All right. So I've got five things here based on a prompt, and I'm gonna give them to you one at a time, and you have to rank them 1 through 5 without knowing what the rest are, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, so I know when I spoke to you, you said that you liked survival games. So you're gonna
Mm.
blind rank 5 survival games. Um, so you ready?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. Your first one is Minecraft.
Mm. I say I put that in the middle. Put that through.
3, okay. Terraria.
Is the five being worst and one being like
Five
favorite?
five is worst and 1 is best.
Um, I'll put that at four. Probably
4.
controversial, but I'll put that at four.
Okay. Daisy.
Two. That's yeah, two.
Okay. Subnautica.
Oh no. Oh, it's either five or one, but I don't know what the next one is. People are gonna hate me. I'm just gonna put that at the bottom. I want to
You
know
gonna
what's
put
first.
Subnautica at 1? Wait, you put Subnautica at 1 or 5?
Five. I
Oh,
have
okay.
a feeling that the first. All right, what's first?
Your first one is Rust.
Oh yeah, no, I'm happy with that. Yeah, Rust is my favorite.
Really?
Yeah, not I
So,
haven't played it in a while, and I know it's got its issues. But when I first played it like 5 years ago, I was just like, I just love a game where I can just build a house and then try and not get it burnt down by a bunch of weird people online. But I think Rust is easily my favorite.
so you got Rust, Daisy, Minecraft, Terraria, and Subnautica.
Yeah, people are gonna hate that list, but
You know, I don't think it's the worst list, but it's certainly not my list. Uh,
I think having
so,
Terraria 4 is probably gonna anger a lot of people.
well, my thought process was, uh, even if he doesn't like Minecraft, it's gonna be high up just because it's Minecraft.
Oh yeah, I
But
mean,
you
yeah.
stuck it at 3. I was like, no, no way, it's not gonna be number 1 or number 2. But it is what it is. So, that's it for the two that I've got, the blind ranking and the keep 5 cut 5. Before we head off with this interview, is there anything you'd like to add? And it doesn't have to be about Cosmic Cowboy, it could just be about the industry, your experiences, anything.
I mean, I can definitely just bring up one of the points you said about NGL is having students where they are right now. It's a bit of a iffy place right now. You got all of these companies laying off all of so many people, like hundreds and thousands. And then you got all of these people just graduating from uni, or just a bunch of people who just want to get into the industry to go, oh crap, everyone's losing their jobs, but it's fine if you're a executive or whatever. You have the connections already in the industry, you have the experience. Whereas a student like myself, or just an everyday person going, I've never worked in a game studio. I don't know the people that work in a game studio. I don't know how a game studio works. And then, obviously we have no representation. We've got a few schemes, we've got grads and games, which is amazing. But for me personally, and speaking to a lot of people, it's not enough having just one or two graduate schemes. There needs to be more focus on these guys are graduating, and this is going to be the next generation of developers. In 10 years' time, a lot of these executives and seniors, they don't, they're going to be retiring or moving on to different things. We are a part of the next generation of game developers, and this is how we see in the industry. It's not a great start, but it can be better. And with having the start for MGL, we've got, I think, about 100 people now on the Discord, and it's grown every single day. It's great to just finally have a place to go. It's literally just for students. There's no industry people. There's no one else involved. It's just students. Asking for feedback, portfolio reviews, showing off our work. Having speaking to the founder of it. She definitely wants to make NGL this big, semi-big organization within the UK. We've already been offered a place in Grads in Games. Next year, and we want to take that further. I don't know what the plans are, but it's a small start now, but having this way for students to just get involved is great, because there's no representation for us whatsoever. It's even for juniors as well that, just lose their jobs. There's no help for us at all. It's kind of like you graduated, good luck, that's it. And then you might get the odd message or the odd email, but there's just no real way to go, hey, I'm a student, I need help. Because most people in the industry are going to go, oh, that's a student, ignore them. Because that's what the case is, because we're not worth the time in their eyes. But having a way to have our work shown off, in the slight chance of one person, even if it's one person gets a job through this scheme, it would be worth it, because that's just one person getting their dream job that they never would have had before. So, having more graduate schemes and more support schemes for students, it's really helpful, because a lot of us don't really have the confidence to go, the industry is imploding, what do I do? And a lot of these students don't have the confidence to reach out for help on LinkedIn, or they don't have the confidence to start making their own games because they just think it's just no point. So having a graduate scheme or something just to help students out is going to go a long way.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Again, this was an interview with Jack Mulford. Uh, I really appreciate your time, and I'm gonna end the recording.
So